welcome to In Gratitude. I am Dana Lopez, the Marketing and Communications Director for the Inn, and I'm so happy with the group that I'm going to be speaking to today. This is the 5th episode or installment of In Gratitude, and in honor of National Volunteer Week, which is from April 18th to the 24th, I am going to speak to some of the people that make the Inn run every single day. You can call them our heartbeat. You can call them the reason why the Inn continues to exist. We say it all the time. Volunteers are absolutely the heart of our organization. So in honor of National Volunteer Week, I am going to speak to some of our volunteers. So today I have 3 of our volunteers. I've got Sandra Williams. Hi, Sandra. Thank you for joining us today. I've got Edward Finneran. Ed, how are you? And I have Patrick Ward. Patrick, nice to see you today. And thank you.
To be here.
Thank you all so much for talking to me today. I mean, we have so much love and respect for our volunteers. All of you work at the Mary Brennan Inn, which you can see behind me, and it's in the state that it is in, that it has been in since the pandemic. But I'm going to get to that in a minute. I would really love to hear you just introduce yourselves and talk to me about how you got to the Inn, what brought you here. And ladies first, so we're going to start with Sandra. Sandra, what brought you to the Inn?
So when I decided to do my volunteering, which was about 4 or 5 years ago, I realized that I had a lot of free time and needed to start giving that back to the community. And so I wanted to do more public speaking. And so I joined the Inn as part of the Speakers Bureau, working with Cynthia, going around talking about the great work that the Inn does. And I didn't do as much of it because I was working, and most of it was during work hours. So I did as much as I could in the evenings and some weekend fairs and things like that. Once July of last year hit and I stopped working and needed something else to do, I called Cynthia and said, all right, do you all need some other help? And that's how I wound up at the Inn, I think around October, but I've been volunteering since about 4 years ago. So that's how I wound up working at the Inn.
That's great. And the Speakers Bureau, of course, goes out. We speak to whoever will basically listen, corporate groups, school groups, trade shows, all kinds of things, volunteer shows, or anybody that might want to help us. We go out in the Speakers Bureau to talk to them. So it's a wonderful job because you get to talk about the Inn, and the longer you stay here, right? I think the better you get, because you get to speak really truly from the heart and how it works, right? Being a volunteer. So Ed, I know you've been here for a while. How long have you been at the Inn?
Well, I've certainly known of the Inn, Dana, for years and years. I live right next door to Hempstead. So the Inn had come to my attention probably as many as 15 plus years ago. So having recognized the terrific work that they do, I, like Sandra, retired a little bit ago and was looking to do something that I thought would be just terrific for me, and finding that opportunity to work with others. And the mandate that you have is obviously neat. You're the largest soup kitchen, I think, on Long Island. The folks that work there are godsend. You know, it's just a terrific group of people. And before the pandemic hit, so this would be probably mid 19 to late 19, I went back and forth to try to figure out how best, based on the needs of your team, I could assist your development and your growth. So I first started with the Speakers Bureau. So I've not been a huge contributor there, but where I found the most rewarding work, at least to date, is with the Center for Transformative Change. And I work with Eileen and Pat and the team there. They're absolutely terrific. It is a great adjunct to the Inn and the food service that you provide to your guests. So I have found that to be very rewarding. I try to get up there once a week, sometimes twice a week. But we had that big gap Dana, when the pandemic hit and there was no in-person assistance. And I know it was closed for a while. And then I think it was probably, after the summer of last year, where it became more of a regular routine for me. So those folks are absolutely terrific. I love the team there, and being upstairs and seeing the good work that's done downstairs. It's really been terrific because I can have sort of hands-on meet some of the guests. It's a little more limited now than it was. So it's really been it's been a great thing.
Oh, that's great, Ed. Thank you so much. Yeah, CTC does some really incredible work. And, through the pandemic, they didn't close. They were just seeing guests outside. It was very different.
Yeah.
Of course, in March, the weather had started to get warmer, and then it got cold, and we had to bring in tents and warmers and all kinds of stuff, potties. I mean, what a transition that was. But they definitely kept going, and we can't do it with just ourselves, even though the team there is phenomenal. The help of the volunteers is essential. So thank you so much. And so Patrick, what about you? Where'd you come from?
So I actually have my wife to thank for introducing me to the Inn. I've been coming regularly now for the past 3 years, but prior to that, my wife, she is a school teacher, and Jean Kelly is an alumna of her school, came to speak. And afterwards, my wife chatted with her a little bit, and she said, it would be great if you could bring some of the students to do some of their service hours at the Inn. And so she started that program up. And I was still working at the time and couldn't join her on a regular basis. But whenever I had an opportunity, a common day off, or I took a day off, I would accompany her kind of, as a chaperone for the students. And that was my introduction. And I really enjoyed myself. It was a very gratifying and humbling experience to work there. And I said to myself, this is where I want to be when I retire. And here I am.
That's awesome. Well, you got to give your wife a shout out. What is your wife's name?
Maria.
Maria. We got to make sure we shout her out on TV, right? Well, thank you so much, Patrick. I am so just really, really want to talk to you. I mean, we're kind of touching a little bit about sort of what's been going on during the pandemic. Each one of you has been in the soup kitchen, right? In the soup kitchen during the pandemic. So how do you think how do you see the change? What are the biggest changes? Ed, why don't we start with you? What do you think the biggest changes have been since we've been pushing everything out the door and guests have not been able to come inside?
No, outside of the benefit for the guests to have a place to sit down, congregate, and enjoy, a shower and other services that the Inn provides. What is incredibly impressive to me is the amount of food that is in the dining area. Not only is it in the back in the storage area and being prepared, but it would appear that the outpouring of support for the mandate that you guys move forward has just been spectacular. So I think, although it's I think been inconvenient for the guests, it has really been terrific because in other ways folks have stepped up to provide for those in need.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you hit the nail on the head. It's definitely an inconvenience, but the guests that we serve have probably been inconvenienced in so many ways. And the thing that they do, I think, is adapt. I think that they have that ability to adapt. Sandra, you're at the door a lot, right?
Yes.
So what has been the response from guests since this happened? Have you seen a lot of despair? Have you seen a lot of gratitude? What do you think is really the main takeaway from when you're literally standing at the door when you're volunteering? You're handing guests bag lunches and food and pantry bags and things. What's the response that you've been getting?
the response that I found is mostly of gratitude. People are really grateful. I've seen a couple of times that I did the pantry, I've seen a few guests kind of have, well, what is this that we're getting? And I've seen other ones actually say, you know what, that Mary Brennan Inn is one of the best food kit pantries in Long Island, and that people should be grateful for everything that they get. But for the most part, I would say the guests are really, really grateful. And one that I always talk to Jean about that touched my heart is an elderly lady. And I remember one day I did the pantry and I gave her the pantry bag and I said, have a nice weekend. And she said to me, now I will that I have food. And I have to say it was a little sad, but at the same time, it just made me feel good that the work that you all do there really is appreciated and is necessary. And she was just like, and every time I see her, I think about what she says. And every time you say to her, have a nice day, she says the same thing. Yeah. So it's rewarding in that sense, in terms of what we're doing to help you all move the mission. And, the guests, I think they really, really do appreciate it. And they realize, how welcoming and everything everyone is there.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a we. I mean, you're saying what we do to help you, we couldn't do it without your help. So we are collectively working together to make sure that as many people, come to the door, we could do whatever we can. And every volunteer that I've seen just has just the biggest hearts. So, I'm so glad that you got that response from the guests because, you don't get paid. You don't get, kind of your compensation comes in the form of, gratitude or the knowledge that you've done somebody for somebody else, right, Patrick? What do you think about that? Do you think that, have you had a lot of interaction with the guests?
So interestingly, since the start of the pandemic, not so much, but prior to, I kind of was a little bit of a jack of all trades. They would plug me in wherever there was a need. So not only working kind of behind the scenes in the pantry and in the kitchen, but I would also work out in the great room there with the showers. I worked the front door, the dirty dishes area. So I get to really see and interact with the guests. And I think that's one of the really kind of unspoken tragedies here is that kind of loss of community that the guests are doing without now. And it really is a shame because while we are providing for them as best we can in terms of limited services and food, the inn really was a gathering place for them to come in, to sit with their friends, to chat with one another. And I really sense a loss there, not just for myself, but more so for the guests. And I really look forward to the day when we can start that back up again.
Yes, absolutely. Hopefully that day is coming sooner than later, and we'll be able to open the doors again for guests to come inside and sit down and have the meal the way that we are used to serving it. We're doing this now because we have to, and we'll do it as long as we have to, but I know that the goal is eventually to get back to where we were. So I definitely second that emotion for sure. Now, do you guys, are you all, and I don't know your schedules because I know that you might be there on different days. Are any of you there on the same day where you're just kind of like tag teaming and doing stuff? What's that like?
So I'll go and then Patrick can chime in. So Patrick and I are on the Monday team.
Okay.
And basically we are Monday. Okay, I'm gonna put it that way.
I second that.
So basically, Patrick is like, I always say Patrick is in charge on Mondays because he's been there, and we have become a team that is like the dynamic duo. So Mondays, we make that kitchen happen no matter what's happening. We laugh about it, we joke about it, and we make it happen. So that's my Monday take.
I love it.
I'll give you a different take on Friday because I go on Monday and Friday.
Patrick, what's Monday like for you?
I look forward to every Monday to hooking up with Sandra. Sandra is my inmate.
I like that.
I love that.
And I look forward to every Monday to being there bright and early in the morning, and knowing that she and I are going to make it happen. And we have a lot of fun doing it. And it's really, it makes my Monday.
That's amazing. And you know, it's so funny because some things never change. And what hasn't changed is volunteers identifying themselves by the day of the week that they volunteer.
True.
So shout out to the Mondays, the Tuesdays, the Wednesdays, the Thursdays, the Fridays, either pre-pandemic or during pandemic. We just salute you. We're not worthy. So I love that. And,
Dana-
and by the way, I will never not say the word inmate when I talk about volunteers that work together. That is the best. Thank you,
I
Patrick.
like that.
Okay.
I love that. I love that.
Dana, one of the things that's important to stress in your mission and what you've accomplished since March of 2020 is the number of people. I wouldn't call it an explosion, but it's twice. There's probably 30, 40, 50, 60 more % guests that are knocking on the door and are being served. So it's really been a spectacular response by your team. I mean, certainly with the of some of us, but you guys have certainly led the way there.
Oh, thank you so much. And you know, and you're right, Ed, because I know at last count, when we were counting late last year, from what I understand, we were seeing at least 1,000 more families that we had never seen before. Families, not individuals. We were seeing 1,000 more families, and obviously a lot of people are falling on even harder times because of the pandemic. And again, you know, we're a team, and we are. I feel like at many times the volunteers are at the helm, because you guys are the ones that are right there every day, at the front door. You know, I want to say the front lines. You are our essential workers. So I really feel that, you know, when we talk about the team and what we are doing, we is collectively us. So, you know, and I love the fact that because of your selflessness, because of your generosity, all of you, you're able to not only serve guests of the inn, but you're able to forge relationships and, you know, have something that you do that when you wake up in the morning. I mean, who says, I look forward to every early Monday morning? And not many people say that, but Patrick, you said it. So, and I get it. I believe it. I see the, you know, the bonds that are formed, and I only hope that we can continue or go back, like we said before, to, you know, everybody sitting in the volunteer lounge every once in a while when they get that tiny break because you're working so hard, but being able to sit. And I've seen people, you know, talk about people, their grandkids and their, you know, all everything that that I just think it's just wonderful. So you guys are really awesome. I have a last question, and you could each kind of take turns. Sandra, you sort of you gave us a little bit of something that a guest said to you that really touched your heart. Ed, Patrick, if there's something, what's like the one thing that will kind of stick in your memory in terms of your experience with volunteering? I don't know who wants to go first. Maybe Ed, if you'd like to go first.
Because my interaction is different than Patrick and Sandra, it can be, you know, a 15-minute chore that a guest needs help with, or it could be, you know, 1.5, 2 hours. And even, you know, in the later or latter stages of the pandemic, say the last 3 months, you know, there's precautions taken. There's shields and there's masks and whatnot, and we're socially distant. It's great having the personal contact, folks who need help with driver's license, with baptismal certificates, if you can believe it, with housing. Some of them have problems with the minor problems with the law, not arrest, but just past things. So what's been great for me is the personal interaction that can occur at any time, and I know it's meaningful for them, but it's as meaningful for me to be able to help them, kind of in service to others, like the Jesuitical, you know, way.
Absolutely. And I think that you touch on a really good point, Ed, because it's important to remember that not every volunteer works direct. I mean, and you do and you don't. You're at CTC, you have some certain interaction, but it's really important to remember that there's a whole sort of crew of volunteers that may not be connecting with guests, but if they're doing a task, that task is essential in everything else that we're trying to do for that day, you know? So before the pandemic, there were volunteers that were in the volunteer lounge buttering bread for the meal service every day. There were volunteers that were folding clothes or sorting through clothing donations to make sure that every piece of clothing that we were giving out was acceptable to give out, that it was clean, that it didn't have holes or stains, or, I mean, those things are, they seem like they're not as important, but they are as important, if not more important, to make sure that we maintain that dignity and respect that we are giving to our guests. So I think that that's super, super important to say too. Patrick, do you have a kind of a memory or something that's stuck with you, whether it's about a guest or not, just during your volunteering?
Yeah, just to kind of reinforce what you said, it really, that expression, it takes a village. Every job there that a volunteer does, as menial as someone may think it is, it really is very important in supporting everything that everybody does there. I really look forward to the day when we open our doors again to let everybody in, and I do miss that interaction with the guests. It could be as simple as just saying hello to someone and putting a smile on their face for the day, or me trying to practice my few words of Spanish and getting a giggle out of somebody because I say something incorrectly. But the guests really love when you do interact with them, and it's something that I really do hope we can get back to in short order.
Me too, absolutely. Well, I can literally sit here and listen to your stories and ask you questions all day long. I want to just say again that we very often say that the Inn would cease to exist were it not for the dedication and the selfless acts of each and every volunteer that has come through our doors. And in 38 years, I don't even know, it's thousands of people. But for this time and right now, I just want to, on behalf of everybody at the Inn, just give you our warmest thanks for everything that you do, for every Monday or whatever day it is, or whatever task you're doing for that day. I have, every time I walk in, the volunteers greet me with a smile. They do the same for the guests, which, Jean Kelly says very often, when you smile at a guest, it could very well be the first time that somebody has smiled for them that day. So we know that for many guests, the smiles from our volunteers, means so much. So happy Volunteer Week. You have, are just so appreciated in our hearts. So I just want to say thank you again, and thank you for taking the time out to talk to me today.
Sure thing. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
See you Monday, Sandra.
Okay.
All righty.